Good evening, everybody. How are we all? How's it going? Been a busy afternoon for me here. Let me just see if I can get this in. There we go. Busy afternoon for me. Takes a few seconds for Facebook to load this up. How am I looking? Not too bad. Missing me tan. Hey Nick, can you hear me? Just give me a message to say you can hear me. Hi Angela, thanks for your question today. I'm going to your question's really good question. I'm going to answer it really well. It's a really relevant question. Really good one. Is the L volume okay? Boom, a lot of people on already. Is the L volume okay? Didn't get a chance to, it was such a busy week, wasn't it? For everybody, you know, it's just such a busy week with everything that's going on in the world. You know, crazy stuff. Okay, so the old thumbs up. You can hear me? Yeah. Okay, everything's good. All good. I'll give a chance for people to come on. Hi, Michelle. How's it going? Good to see you. Cerise, how are you? Angela, love the question today. Thanks. You got me. You all are really great. Got a good few questions. Hi, Kelly. How are you? Hi, Connor. How are you? I haven't seen you in an age. Hope you're keeping well, sir. Hope you're keeping well, Connor. Hey, Daniel. How are you? Late in Guam, I believe, there now. Yeah, you okay? You can hear me loud and clear, Nicola. Good. Thanks for the questions today, Nicola. Really appreciative. Bang the love. Somebody tag any fellow Wella family members who you know want to be here. Just tag them and go on, yeah, good thing. Yes, go on, Connor. I don't know if you've watched the Sunday service. You know, this is a regular kind of thing. It was 8,000 people watched the Nioxin one last week, and particularly like the Lego house. That seemed to go down very well with a lot of people. Even though they didn't like it, they liked it. You know, they didn't like the answer, but they liked they liked the analogy. I got a lot of messages about it during the week, and that was really nice for people to contact me. And hiya, Mike, how are you? Happy anniversary to you. Hiya, Trudy. Tracy, how's it going? And before you ask, Tracy, it'll take a lot more than a flu to stop me going to Lanzarote, you know? You sent Marta a link. Great stuff. Hi, Trace. Everybody talk among themselves. Tag anybody you know who'd like to be here, because it doesn't always show up. Hiya, Beth. How are you? Good to see you on. Tag everybody. And yes, I'll be Tracy, but unless it's cancelled, I will definitely be going to Lanzarote at Easter, I would say, unless we get struck down, you know. But it is such a scary week for everybody in Europe with the outbreak in Italy of the coronavirus, and how scary it is. Yeah, I have the flu at the moment. It's going around. Like how scary it actually is, but that really we do have to put these things into perspective. You know that really when you look at the recovery rates, I think it's 44,000 have had it, and the recovery rate is 33,000, is 30,000. I think something on that sort of level. Beth, good to see you. Good to see you. You know that it is a flu, and the most important thing to do is to keep your hands washed, keep yourself clean, and not to panic and not to give in to fear. You know, because there's always something like this come around. I remember the foot and mouth disease in Ireland a few years ago. Then there was the swine flu. There's always stuff like this, and the fear is a bigger thing than you stick to the pink lemonade, that corona. The fear is bigger than the disease. Do you know what I mean? Because the fear can swallow you whole, and your brain automatically goes looking for drama and goes looking for. Yeah, looking for things that it can't fix, because then it can spend its time trying to fix them, and that can put you in a really dark place. So you have to work really hard to keep your brain trained. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for the question today. I'm going to answer it. I'm going to go through all the questions right now. Yeah, it doesn't seem to hit people under 20 years of age that much. You know, there's people who've had the disease and have had the kids with them. The kids haven't got it, so it doesn't seem to hit. It doesn't seem to hit children as much as it does parents. My cab arrives. Listen, Kelly, best of luck tonight. Best of luck tonight, Kelly. We all wish Kelly the best of luck in her awards tonight. I'm sure she'll keep us posted. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed for you, Kel. Hope you win, and I'll be all right. It's our brains, and we're automatically being drawn into this type of stuff. You know what I mean? But the recovery rates are huge. There's the best people in the world working on vaccines. If you wash your hands and you keep yourself clean, and to remember that it's a new type of flu. That's really what it is. It's a new type of flu, and to try your best to not get into the fear of it. You know what I mean? To really not get into the fear of it. You've seen how well the Chinese people dealt with it, and how they've reduced their rates massively, and that each person, each country's gonna do their best in it, but please to try not to overreact, and that I think any large social gatherings that are being reduced I think is a really good thing, because that's just going to spread it massively, which can then affect the people that it really will affect, which is the older people or the people with underlying health issues. You are more likely, I'm off to buy a ticket. You are more likely to get hit by it. You're more likely to be in a car accident, for sure. But it's really to protect the older people and the vulnerable, and the people with underlying heart, people over 65, people with heart, people with very bad asthma, and so it's to protect them. But for most people, it's a straightforward flu, and you probably won't even know you had it. So don't get yourself in a mix, because it's not good for you. It's not good for your kids, and these things happen all the time. I remember swine flu. I remember them all. Foot and mouth. These things happen all the time. And then the one with the flu. Do you remember the uni flu jab we all had to get a few years ago? So these things happen. Nature is way ahead of us, and it'll be okay. Okay, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Right. I with everything that was going on this week, I just didn't get a chance to really to prepare a lot for you, even though I remembered the story this morning, a brilliant story, which I'll tell you later, because I know Karen loves my little stories, and one came to me, Karen, after you sent me about the book. I was thinking about a story and it came to me. So I have hiya Lucy, and good to see you on. So I have hiya Becky, thanks for the questions today. I have a little story then later, which only hits me amazingly enough when Karen said that I need to write a book. And the reason, hiya Lucy, and great to see you. Hope you're keeping well, sir. Hiya Norma, great to see you on, babes. How are you? God's a lot on already. Great stuff. Well, the first, and Lucy, and I hope you're keeping well. The first question we're going to deal with was from April. I hope, April, if you're on, love a tale from Uncle Andy, absolutely. Now then. This'll cheer you up, You'll be worrying about a flu all the time, do you know what I mean? Is it the one about the balayage beard? No, it's not. It's actually a story about a vegetable. But we'll get there. So the first question today was from April, okay? And April's question was, my favourite colour touch shades, highlighting with the 12s, and when would you go for Magma? Hi Jackson, how are you? Okay, well, my favourite colour touch shades, that's a really, really difficult one, because it's not like the most used. It's my favourite colour touch shades. So I was thinking, which one is it both? Be careful with the it's you'll like this story. You just want me to get straight to the story now, don't you? But that's not going to happen. We've a bit to go through here, and these people were so nice to ask me those questions and to get me out of a rut that I have to answer them. So April, my favourite colour touch shades, very difficult. I was going to use my most used colour touch shades, because we live in Ireland for a start. My most used colour touch shades are most definitely 881 and 789, and they can be used in many different ways. Some people use them as a slight base break in between the background of highlights, or some people tone with them a lot, particularly the tone with a level. That's I'm getting to that one. Some people tone, if they get to a level 9 in my salon, they like to tone to an 8, because they like the toner to last, so they like to tone one shade below, and so it's used quite a lot. They would probably be the two most used shades, except for what Nick has just come on there, 916. Most highlights, if they're being toned with colour touch, people tend to reach for 916 all the time. Just because it's a perfect toner, divide it into 6 will just remove any yellow, and then the cool neutral of the 1 will just soften out the bleach look and just give you that really look. It's very, very popular with 80 and 916 as well. But my favourite Colour Touch shades of all time is really hi-ish Salas, good to see you on, bro. My favourite Colour Touch shade chart of all time. Actually, my number one favourite. Oh, you like 997 and 916. That's a nice one. 997 the 97 range is massive now, particularly for melting. 979 on the route with 597, 797 into 997 is a massive melt at the moment, because it just gives you that sort of cool warm. I don't think anybody makes colour like cool warms like Wella do. I just don't see it anywhere else, you know. Very, very popular. But you love 747 Jackson. See, that's it. My favourite Colour Touch of all time is 5565 in the Colour Touch range. That's my favourite for many reasons. I used it in my international Trend Vision that went on to win the Global Trend Vision Award. I've never seen a tone like it, you know, that's 6.5. It's hard to describe. That if you bleach hair up to just even a level 8, and you put like you know, in areas, if you're doing like a ring flash like I did for mine, or if you just paint some bleach on the sides of people's hair and you put a 5.5, 6.5 over it, it's just the most incredible tone that you've ever seen, and it lasts forever. And you do it, and when they come back, it's just faded up to or you can make it quite easily. You could make it with like 10.6 and double 4.65. I'd imagine it's very high. Chantel, don't worry, I haven't got to your question yet, and thank you for asking me your question. Thank you again for asking me your question. That would be my number one favourite. My second would be 471. I'll tell you why. I love a deep chocolate brown, you know, and I like browns to be quite cool at that level, because there's a lot of pink, as you can tell from in Irish skin. You know, there's a lot of people who are quite pink, myself included. And 471, just especially mixed with just a little bit of trio, just gives you that really expensive dark brunette, you know, particularly on a girl who's got dark hair and blue eyes. I love you all throwing up your mixes here. Get all your favourite mixes up on the page and inspire me here. So put in your questions, and I'll be able to look at them later. Put in your favourites of all time. So my second one is 471. I haven't gone for any of the blondes yet, you see. That it just gives you that really luxurious, expensive brown. And there's so many clients that are at a base 6 or a base 5, and they're always asking what to do with their hair. And hairdressers always have a tendency about, you know, well, you know, at that level of lift, you really need to break the base to be working with, you know, with that type of hair. You need to make them look a little bit lighter, because if you highlight against the base and it's that dark, it has a tendency to look warm no matter what, because the highlight's going to reflect off the base no matter what. And if the base is quite dark and you put a 7 or 8 or a 9 over it, it can look quite brassy. It doesn't mean that the colour's brassy, it isn't. It's just being reflected off the dark base. You all know what I'm talking about, or if you don't, you'll think about that and you'll be like, okay, that makes sense. So for a lot of girls who are at that level, they should be thinking about going a little bit darker. If you do a really nice structured haircut, you know, and you've got some beautiful clients, Salas. I'll tell you, the eyes come out of my head looking at some of the girls you post. I don't know, you're like James Bond over there. James Bond, you've got some. I don't know if they're house models or if they're all your wives. I'm not quite sure. But I tell you, you've got the clientele. So sometimes, and we'll be dealing with this in the consultation today, a darker look, can look amazing. It makes people's eyes pop, particularly if it's in a bob shape or if it's a structured haircut. You know, like those beautiful haircuts that we see Lucian doing. You know, that if you see blue eyes, Cheryl, and I mean, if you're doing it, you know, and she's asking about going lighter, and you know that if you put highlights in it, they're going to look brassy against her dark base, you know, have a good look at the girl. And I think Salas has a few wives, Nick. I think you're right there. You know, I tell you, you wouldn't be able for it. The girls he has there, they're like unbelievable. And you know, there's no harm in doing a demi darker and just giving them that very structured look. It can really look really well, particularly if they're a dark brunette and they have blue eyes. You know, you love 571, have 775. Yeah, see that my third colour, this was really difficult because I wanted to throw a blonde in, you know. So I was just going to group all them together. But I like that one as well, Tamara. I really like that. There's some crackers coming up here, guys. I'm loving it. I'm loving this. I'm loving it. But my second favourite is 775. And my third favourite is 775 with a pinch of stroke 3/4 mixed tone. You know, 996. I'm still getting into it, Angela. I just forget. You know what it is? I forget it's sitting there because we've so many nines now. You know, you got 989, 996, 973, 997, 901, 903, 936, 916. I'm sure there's more. I'm missing them even there. You know what I mean? They're all just nines. There's so many nines. But I love 775 with a pinch of 034. And my hero product in the whole range is the stroke 3/4 mixed tone. Because if you put a bit of stroke 3/4 in with 6/7, in with 5/4, in with 775, even in with 973, you know, if you want to make a really beautiful caramel and you're doing it over here that's been compromised, and you just put a smidgen in. Hi Priscilla. You just put a smidgen in, it'll give you that warmth, you know. It'll give you that really warm tone. 67764, that's beautiful. It's 986. I'll bring one over for you. I have an orange box colour coming in tomorrow. Yeah, it really works well. You know what it's really great on, Tracy? It's really great on base 7, base 8, red brunettes. It really, really works really, really well. And that's what it seems to be where, you know, unless you're toning like for a metallic, because it is a metallic colour. It's a metallic range, really. Unless you're toning and you want a metallic colour, it's very strong. But if you put it over like a base 7 where all the orange lives, or a base 8 that's, you know, been lifted a bit too much, it will work really good. What will give me a nice sandy brown on an Irish red? Needs to stay warm but kill red. On a base 6 Irish, I'd have to look at it, but right off the top of my head, I will say 717 and pastel, or 4%, depending on your lift, in Colliston, because you need to shift the base here, Karen. You know, because it's a base 6 Irish hair, you need to base shift it. So a colour touch won't give you a sandy. You know, so 717, or 718. You know, or if you feel like pushing it, and I do, particularly with darker bases, I do on this one, 917 and 717 with pastel, and you'll just shift the base enough that you should. But I don't know about sandy, but you'll definitely get a nice, rich, you know, lighter feeling brown that will be lovely. You know what I mean? This one's coming in the morning in Spanish. Oh, it'll be perfect for her, Tracy. It'll be perfect. Now it's sort of blue violet sitting on the head, so, you know, be prepared for a bit of a woohoo, a bit of a chicken dance, and that you will be petting that toner. You'll be petting her, meow, meow. Don't go blue. But when you rinse it off, it just gives you this perfect dusty brunette. It's really, 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 really beautiful. 718 is a beautiful colour, Michelle. It really is a beautiful colour. It's one of the most popular colours. We use it a lot on base 4s, base 5s, as a base break. You know, that type of things. We use them quite a lot. 718 is a beautiful colour. And I don't see DO2s. You know, people say, oh, we need the greens, DO2s. I don't see DO2s working better than a 1.8. You know, it's not heavy. You know, there's a 2 is quite Martha can't find. Nobody can find Martha. You know what I mean? I don't know. She's probably like that running around the internet there. You know, like something out of Fraggle Rock. Wah! She can't find me. You know. So but she'll get it back. She'll get it back. So the second question she was asking was about highlighting with the 12s. Hiya Richard, how's it going? I'll send her another link. Yeah, she's missed so much now, she'll be devastated. But then she does tend to watch it back during the week, because then she asks me questions during the week about it, which is good, you know. It's threw me off as well. I couldn't find it either. Like I Facebook have contacted me to ask me to do a Facebook Live for Facebook. Now, how funny is that? You know, so Facebook have contacted me to. There she is. She's in the house. Who's in the house? Martha's in the house. Who's in the house? Martha, you've missed so much. I hate to tell you, Martha, you have missed so much. Like, I gave the meaning of life away. I talked about the Holy Grail. You've missed so much. You know. It's frightening. You've missed so much. You know, my heart's broken for you. My heart's broke. I'd say a prayer for you. My heart's broken for you. But you're here now. You're here. You're here. There's the little hearts coming up. You're here. She must have got lost. Where were you on? God knows what were you on. God knows where you were. You were probably talking to Guy Tang or something, were you? You know, because I mean, yeah, God knows what you were up to. Do you know what I'm saying? Guy was on earlier. You know, you were probably talking to him. Yeah, I am only warming up. You're right. You're right. So we just dealt with... I'm so afraid. It's not the end of the world, Martha. It's a flu, okay? It's a flu. Wash your hands. It's a flu. You're so strong, sweetheart, that if you got it, you probably just cough and keep walking. That's the problem with the spreaders. They don't even know they have it. They don't even know they have it. That guy from Malaysia went to Malaysia, came back, went to Northern Italy, went skiing, went to a festival. Hadn't a clue. He was only in the hospital for 2 days and they released him. Didn't even know he had it. The guy was so strong and so healthy, didn't even know he had it. You're not dying. It's not the end of the world. It's a flu. I'm not making little of it, because we have to protect the most vulnerable in our society, and we will protect our most vulnerable in the society. And as much as it kills me, and as much as I love football, and as much as I want to see Liverpool take the title and stuff like that, if the season is suspended, I think that's a good thing. I don't think big, huge public gatherings are a good thing at the moment, just because everybody's got a grandmother and everybody's got a grandfather and everybody's got someone who's going through underlying illnesses, and we want to protect them. But you, me, and most people on this... most people on this thread, you wouldn't even know you had it, okay? It's a flu, okay, sweetheart, it's a flu. But we have to protect the most vulnerable, and there's oxygen needed for these people, and they don't have enough to go around, and I think that's half it. I'm not quite sure, but you'll be fine, Martha, okay? I'm actually gonna bless you now, Martha. Father Dunn's going to bless you in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I bless you, Martha. Go on your way. Go with God. You've a blessing from Andrew. Sure, that's like, you know, you can take that to the bank. You can take that till you die, okay? You can take that to the bank. You've been blessed, okay? You've been blessed. There you go. On with you there. That's, you know, I'm always telling some people things they post on the page. They're asking me, how do I fix that? And I'm looking at it going, holy water is the only thing you need to fix that. So it's not the first time I've said it. But you go with God, you're blessed. You're blessed by Father Dunn, okay? Nothing can hurt you. A bullet couldn't get through that, okay? A bullet couldn't get through it, all right? So the second question from the lovely April was 12s. Yeah, you're blessed. You're blessed, okay? Go with God. Go with God. Go with Colliston, okay? Okay. So your second question, forgive me my sins for Nick wants a blessing as well. Nick, I'll need to hear your confession, and that'll be quite a long hour. But just straight off the bat, I forgive you, Nick. Nicholas Kahn, you were forgiven of all sins. Go with God, okay? Go with God. Go with God. I'll take your blessings to the bank tomorrow. Salas, same for you. You're blessed, okay? Now, I hope you're all blessing me back. This is so funny. This is so funny. You're blessed as well, okay? I actually have holy water. My mum was very religious, and she used to keep holy water in the house here. I used to give her an awful slagging about it. You know what I mean? But there you go. There you go. So the second question from the lovely April was, when would you use 12s as a highlight? And what would you use? Now, I actually, as you know from me on the page, I actually do use 12s as a highlight with 12% quite a lot. And there is an argument between, like, what is more, you know, damaging on the hair. Is it like 12-1 and 12%, or is it blonde or and 3%? And See, the thing is, they're just two completely different chemical processes. I mean, so 12-1 is a colour and it swells the hair, and bleach fractures the hair. So they're two completely different. Scientific, breakdowns. So they're in no way alike. So it's really, I don't think you can measure them, but I do use 12s quite a lot, and I think what you need to look at if you're using 12s as a highlight is that if they're super fine highlights, you won't really see them because they're a tinted highlight, so they're not that bright. So you need to make sure that your highlight shape is a little bit chunkier, like a zigzag, or a couple of slices together or something. So that you kind of need to look at the shape of your highlight if you're using the 12s. I think that's the first tip I'd give. I use them quite a lot. I tend to use the less ashier ones because I want to see, if you use something that's quite cool as a highlight, it can just disappear into the hair, where the really cool ones are great for a full head. You need the holy water for your last confession. 33 years ago. You go with God, Martha. Go with God. You're free. You're free. You're free. Your wings are like that now, Martha. Your wings are just, whoa. Your wings, you're free, babes. You're free. You're free. So... Oh, you gas! You're just so funny, you lot. You're so funny. So my favourite 12s to use for a highlight, as a highlight, is 12-1 and 12-1-6. Mixed for 45 ends being 2 falls mixed. So this is just particularly, this was asked as a highlight, and I tend to use them on bases 6 and above as well, because again it goes back to the dark base syndrome, that if you lift a highlight that much, it's not that it will lift perfectly, but how will it look against the dark base? This is the question you have to ask yourself. And when it hits the heart, thank you, mate, you've become a saint. You're a saint. You have to imagine what the highlight's going to look against the base, Like, you can cool out a highlight as much as you want. If somebody's got a warm base, when you put that highlight beside the warm base, it's going to look warm because their base is warm. And the natural will always create the visual look no matter what. You know what I mean? Yeah, it is 7 and above, Michelle. But when I'm highlighting, I do it about 6 and above. If I'm doing a full head tint, it is 7 above. And if I do a darker, 12-1-7, see, they replaced with 12-1-6. It's beautiful. So 12-1-6, and that's another thing as well. I do tend to bleed some of my 12s into magma, or some of my 12s into blonde, or if I'm working on that type of hair, I do tend to do that quite a lot. I do tend to bleed a lot of my highlights, base 7s, base 8s, base 9s, into magma with I tend to use pastel with magma. 1-7 she's asked me about magma as well. This is April's question again about my favourite magmas and my volumes that I like to use. My favourite magmas are 07, stroke 17, stroke 89. Hi Sylvie, how are you? I hope you're enjoying Lanzarote. I think you're there. I hope you're enjoying it. We're here, we're diving deep into different stuff. And thanks for the lovely messages this week after we hit 25,000. It was a beautiful moment, and to see Nick Khan's video go around the world as well. Good one on everybody. Give Nick Khan a round of applause. He's such a digital genius, and we love him very much. And thank you, Nick, for that. It was a beautiful thing. I've nearly moved on already, isn't it mad? But they're my favourites in magma. I really like 12-1-7 or stroke 17. It's my I love that. I love stroke 07. I love stroke 07. I love stroke 8-9. I really love stroke 4-4 on very dark bases because it just gives you a pure red. I tend to use lower volumes, the reason being why I can always reapply with a higher volume. But magma, you don't really know how it's going to lift on the hair because you don't really know half the time what's on the hair because clients don't tell you the truth. Angela, that's a nice one. Clients don't really tell you the truth, about what's going on the hair, and it can lift really quickly and lift really slowly. So I do have a tendency to use lower volumes and I can always reapply. So I do tend to start with pastel for my magma, and I did I would do I you saw one, I think I did one the other day. It was a 9, 7 and 9% into stroke 07 magma. The blessings are always there for you, babe. Stroke stroke 17 in from 917. It just gives you a nice bleed and a nice shape and a nice vibe. So there, I couldn't live without magma. But my recommendation is use a lower volume, and then when you're about quarter way up the back, have a look underneath, and if you see it starting to lift too quickly, or so you might have to tone, or if you see that my wife just sent me a message here. Sorry, if you see that completely knocked me off me stride there. Yeah, if you see a lot, if you see that it's lifting, you can always go away and mix up like a 1.7 with 6% and go over and it'll lift. It'll lift. But the 1.7 is particularly beautiful. And then you hardly need to tone them. I rarely tone them. Colour corrections the other days was used in all categories. Okay, so that was the question from April. Thank you, April. Trudy. These are good questions as well. Trudy's like, when would you go for magma, and when would you go for blonde or? And again, they're like blonde or is a bleach, and it's there to lift you to a level that you're going to tone. Magma is basically a bleach that a colour can live in. So it's a coloured bleach. So if you want to have a blonde, like a blonde, you will always go for blonder. You know what I mean? There's no better lifter in the world than blonder. But if you want something that has some tone in it, April, you're more than welcome. And if you have another question, throw it up. I'm going to do one of these once a month. I'm going to do an Ask Me Anything once a month, because it's actually brilliant. It's actually brilliant. Some of the questions were brilliant. And even for me, I was able to go, I didn't know that was a problem, but it actually is. And when I think about it, it's just, I'm so used to dealing with these problems. So Trudy was like magma or blonder. So Trudy, if you're really going for a strong blonde, a really strong, and you want the most lift, I'll go blonder all day long. 8-9 plus, does it lift better? 8-9 plus is probably the closest to blonder. Does it lift better than blonder? I don't really see that much of a difference. But if you want something that has an essence of colour in it, like the 07 or the 17, or something warmer like the 36, or the 57 or the 65, if you want warm, then you go for magma. Go for magma all the time. Use a low volume. Start with pastel and work your way up, or start with 4. Terry, when would you go over magma with a higher volume? See, that's it, Terry. I've never had to go above 6. Because I always get the lift, I tell a lie. Actually, there's one client, Mary, who has a base trio tint in her hair, and she gets it done every 10 days. The 10-day club. I know, do you have many of them in your salons? They're clients who get their colour done every 10 days. They can't stand roots. We call them the 10-day club. We don't have that many of them. We used to have loads of them back in the day. But I bet you when I've said it now, you're thinking of a few clients you have who are like, literally within 10 days, they want to get their colour done. They cannot bear roots. A particular type. I think Bet Minardi is a 10-day club. They just cannot bear tints. They cannot bear having roots. Magma never tried it, Magma. Hey, Susan. I hope you're well, babes. Hope you're well. Susan made it onto the... Hope you're feeling good, babes. Good to have you on. It was a beautiful post you did today about gratitude. Thanks. It really gave me a bit of a lift, and it made me feel close to nature. So in case you think your posts don't hit people, they do, because I was minding my little one here, and it just gave me a connection to nature. But anyway, back in the game here. And then she said, when would you choose Colliston, and when would you choose Colour Touch? Brilliant question, Trudy. Absolutely brilliant question. If grey isn't an option. See, this is a real colorist question, Thanks for your post earlier, Susan. Thanks for your post. And get out there and enjoy nature, guys. Nothing to be worried about, okay? So when would you choose, doing a Colliston over doing a Colour Touch? And it's a really good, really, as I said, it's a really good question. So if you're dealing with a dark base, if you're dealing with somebody with a 5-0 base and something like that, and you're putting a demi on it, demis sink, you know, demis are depositing colours. You know, they lift slightly, as we all know, everything lifts, you know, slightly. Once you open the hair up, they lift slightly. The only thing that doesn't has to be pH acidic, and that's relights. But anything with a developer, if you ask me, will lift slightly. You know, on hair, it's just chemistry. It's just science. And people get very upset about these things, but it's just the way hair is. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. So if you're dealing with a dark base, like a base 5 or a base 4 or a base 6, hiya Mary, good to see you on. If you're dealing with it with those and you want to put a colour touch on, there's a good chance it's going to look darker. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what you put on. I mean, if you put like a 775 colour touch on a 5-0 base, it's still gonna sink and look, and probably look darker. It's not going to give you the lightness, so it's not really going to work for you. So unless you put something that's really quite warm, that's like a stroke 6.5 or a stroke 4 in it, you know, and condition always plays a part. Jackson, you're dead right. But you know that it doesn't, you're not going to get a reflection of light through it because it's a demi-permanent. It's going to be heavy. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be heavy. So in that situation, when I'm dealing with somebody with a dark base, I had a client in yesterday. She was a base trio, so she was nearly black. Okay, blue eyes. Wanted something to make her hair look as if it was, wanted to have highlights in it, but whenever she got highlights in it, they always looked red against her dark base, which made complete sense because her hair was basically black. You know, it wasn't Asian black, but it was basically black. So if I was to put colour touch in the base of her hair based on a level 3.0, the colour touch would have just made it look darker. And then if I'd gone for really light highlights, they would look red against the dark base. Are we all in agreement with this? It's just nature, isn't it? So what I did on her hair is I chose colour touch, or I chose Colliston. This is where I would choose Colliston Trudy. In a darker basis, if I want to make somebody look like they have some level of reflection of light, I will go for a base shift. I will go to really dilute the heaviness of their tone, particularly on a base 3, base 4, base 5, and I would try to make it. Does it demi less damaging? I don't think either of them are damaging anymore, Martha. I think the products are so well made. I don't think either of them damage their hair at all, really. I don't think colours, you know, do that much damage to hair at all anymore. The products are so beautifully made. I mean, look at Illuminate. It's even blocking the impurities in water. I mean, the products are so beautifully made. You know, I don't think people use the colours to their capability. You know, they have a tendency to just think about grey coverage, and they have a tendency to just think about, you know, they don't think about pigment, and they don't think about tone, and they don't think about eye colour, and they don't think about skin tone, and they don't think about all these shade chart full of colours. They have a tendency to just use what they know, which is 3 or 4 colours, and they get stuck in a box, and then their clients get stuck in a box, and that's not a good thing. But when I'm dealing with dark bases, I don't think either of them are damaging, to be personally honest. I think they smooth down the cuticle. I think they give grey hair weight. You know, grey hair is like so weightless, and then when you put colour in it, it sits flatter. It sits better. You know what I mean? Would you say Colliston comes better than Illumina? I say they both cover really well. You know, I just think you need to think about pigments when you're covering grey as much as you need to think about depth and tone. Coverage, depth and tone, and you need to think about their skin. Like, I prefer to do a beautiful colour on somebody that made them look amazing, and if it didn't cover 100%, I could live with that, than do a horrible colour that didn't do anything for their skin, that looked actually awful, but it covered their grey 100%. But that's just me, okay? I'm just saying, I'm a colourist. I'm into colour, okay? I'm into colour. And there are different types of colour coverage, as Nick just said. One is a heavy saturation, and the Illuminate is light and luminescent, and they're very different. But they both cover brilliantly. It's rarely the product, it's usually us. It's a bit like the computer. If you can't switch it on, it's usually you know. It's rarely the computer, you know. It's rarely computer. What about softening grey around the face? I don't really understand the question, Valerie, but hitting me back. Pre-softening, I've never needed to do pre-softening. I've never needed to, You know, I've never had to do it. You know what I mean? I've put neat tint on and then highlight tinted over it, but I've never needed to pre-soften. I never have any problems with coverage or anything like that. But like, I would tend to use the 07s as my base. I don't tend to use a lot of base colour. So I use a lot of 707 mixed with 77, or 707 mixed with 717. You know, I use a lot of the 03s, the 07s as my bases. I'm always looking for pigment. I'm always looking for pigment. I'm always looking for tone. You know why? Because it means the colour doesn't fade. It lasts against the shampooing and the washing and the blow drying and the GHD and the irons, because I'm looking for pigment. You know, I'm looking for pigment, and I'm really busy, and I'm really successful with colour, and I charge quite a lot of money for that reason, because other people just don't. They just don't see it that way, and we'll come to that later, because people are asking about pricing, and it's so much into what you put into it. So to answer that question, when would I go for Coliston over Colour Touch on a dark base? So if I have somebody with a trio like Kim was the girl who was in yesterday, lovely girl, assistant school teacher, and she was only said we were talking about everything yesterday. So that's what I like to hear, Val. You charge your worth. It's very important. Is that, you know, and thank you, Heather. Thank you for that. Is that on a darker base, my go-tos would be 717 on a dark base, and I would use that with pastel. You missed a lot there, Hag. You missed a lot. There's a lot to go back over, and I blessed a few people as well, Zag. I mean, I'm healing people today. I'm a healer today. You know, I should have the little sign on. We can split the profit. You're beautiful clients, bro. You're beautiful clients. So I do tend to go for KP with 4% or KP with pastel on darker bases when I'm looking for a shift, because I feel that a demi will only make them darker, and then that will make my highlight look warm against a darker base, no matter what colour you pick, because that's just visually how it will look. So great question, KP over Colour Touch, particularly on the darker bases. I tend to go for Collistons, and my go-to Collistons on darker bases for me are 718, 717, 674. It's a beauty. 674 and 775 on dark bases. I mean, that'll give you like the most beautiful colour you've ever seen. They're all when I'll go for when I'm looking to infuse colour through the darkness of the hair rather than sink a demi into it. I hope that good. Thanks, Tanya. I had to rewatch from the beginning. Good. Hiya, Lucy. How are you? I hope that answers your question. It's really good. Then Angela is in the house here. Angela asked a great question, and it was hard to answer. And I said I might have to get the head involved, you know, when I'm answering this one about how do I approach consultations. Are you still at work? 707. Yes. Yeah. That's what I do. Angela in the house. Yes, brilliant. Thank you, Trudy. That was a great question. There's no better. There's only what you need to use. So there's no better. There's a different tool for every job. I mean, I love Illumina. I love Coliston. I love Colour Touch. You know, what's my favourite? Oh, on darker bases. Yes, Tanya. So she asked me about consultations and service, which was a great question, Angela. And you know, this I think this is a big one, particularly for people who want to charge their worth. You know, hiya Jackie, how are you? Good to see you on. Hiya Lisa, how are you? Welcome to the virtual campfire. Sit down, get a glass of wine. Things can get out of hand. I could be singing later. You know, anything can happen here. It's live. It's the way we like it. Welcome to the Sunday service. So consultations, I think I'm really good at consultations behind the chair. And Alice, yes, Colour Fresh. I love Colour Fresh Craze. Hag, you're fantastic colours. You use all across the board. You use everything. But consultations, I think, particularly these days, if you have a new client, when they come into the chair and you're going to do a skin test on them, it's a good time to have consultations. So usually when a client comes into the salon, I will go I will, if at all possible, I will know her name, and I will know what time she's in at. Okay, so this is a new client consultation approach. Okay, so I will know her first name, hopefully, or I'll say to the receptionist, I'll look at her and she'll go Mary, or she'll go Susan. If I'm like 10 minutes behind and she's sitting waiting for me, she'll give me the heads up, and I'll just look at her and she'll go Susan. And then Susan will be sat down and she'll be given a cup of coffee and she'll be sat in the waiting area. And then I'll go and someone will take her jacket. And then I'll go, hi Susan, how are you? And she'll go, hi Andrew, or hi. I'll say, great, just take a seat here. Do you mind me taking your hair out of a ponytail? She'll take her hair out of the ponytail. And then I'll say, now I'm going to have a good look at your hair, okay? And then she'd say, they usually get a bit of a fright at that one because nobody ever looks at their hair. They just start asking them what they want, as if they know what they want half the time. They're there for everything. So I'll usually be, hi Susan, just take a seat there. So I'll take out her ponytail and I'll pull her hair down. And now this is where it gets difficult for people because they feel they don't have the confidence to be able to be present, because you must be present and in the moment with the client. So there's certain key things I will look at. I will then pull their hair down, and I will have a look at the texture of their hair. So the first thing you do is I'll feel their hair. Or maybe I'll pull the dolly in, will I? Yeah, it's easier here. There's the dolly. Lives in my room. This she gives the fright to everybody. This one. They all come into the room, they're all like, oh, they see a head, you know what I mean? They see a head. And I'll go, hi Susan, I'm just going to have a look at your hair, okay? And Susan in the mirror is going, that's no problem, Andrew. I'm just going to have a look at your hair. And then what I'll do is, I'll usually separate the front bits like that, because I want to see how much hair they have here. Because this is the most fragile area of people's hair, here, So I do tend to have a look at that sort of section of their hair, and then I'll have a good look at their face, and then I'll sometimes say, just turn towards me now, and I'll just get them to turn towards me, and I'll look at them, and I'll look at the colour of their eyes. So I'm looking at the colour of their eyes, I'm looking at their face shape, I'm looking at the type of makeup they have on, I'm looking at the type of clothes they wear. I'm having a good look at them. Don't be afraid to look at somebody. They're paying you for a service, okay? They're not coming to you just for, like, if you want to be one of the best in the world, you have to be present and in the moment. So don't be afraid to really look at the person, like I'm looking at you here in the camera. Don't be afraid, okay? It's nothing, okay? And just have a really good look at it. And then you'll start to see, it's a bit brassy, or it's very broken, or it's quite dry. And then I'll always turn to the side, and I'll have a look at their face shape. And I'm sort of looking at that thinking, is their hair too long or is it too short? Have they got a small face? Have they got a big face? And that's so, but this one here is a small face. And so let's just say this client's in for highlights, okay? I've sort of had a good look at this then now, like this. And I've gone through it. Take your time. Okay, breathe. People love this. They love somebody actually concentrating on them. They're just concentrating on them. Usually it's the first time it's happened to them in a salon. And don't be afraid for them. Just have another look at me, and then have a look at the colour of her eyes. Okay, are they blue? Are they hazel? Are they, what colour are her eyes? Is there gold rings in her eyes? Does it look like it's going to be difficult to lift? Is it going to pull warm? As people always say, hi Anna Vaughan, how are you, babes? Is it gonna pull warm? Is it very fine in texture? Is it breaking? When you have a good look at it, is it breaking from blow drying? Is it breaking from colour? Is it too long? Is it too short? How much hair has she got here at the sides? Is it being broken? Is it being tied up a lot? There's so much for you to look at. And people walk up and go, yeah, well, you want to get your colour done today? What you got in mind? Like, what is that? Do you know what I mean? A professional hairdresser. Give them that 5 minutes, is the most important 5 minutes. And that develops a relationship between you for a client that will I'm still looking for them. Those rings in the eyes. I haven't traced. We'll spend our time in Lanzarote looking for them, and we won't have face masks on. Okay, So you can then have it, and then you just say to her, okay, so what have you got in mind? Okay, what have you got in mind? And she'll be like, oh, you know, I've always wanted it to be, you know, to be this. I've always wanted it to be that. I've always wanted to have highlights, you know, hearing you. And so now I'm going to pretend that this is the client I'm talking to. And now you've had a good look at her, and you can say to her, well, you know, based on your face shape, to be honest with you, the place where you really need to have highlights is around your cheekbone. Okay, because around your cheekbone here, you'll highlight the shape. So you have quite a small forehead. So if you put too many highlights, you can open up your forehead here with a face frame if you like, and we can frame all your face all the way down there. Or we can just do a small face frame, you know, like Jennifer Aniston has, you know, the way she has a face frame. And they do that just to offset her chin. And she's just going, oh God, yeah, she's had that all her life. And she's like, yeah, and they're getting it. They're going, this is wonderful. Somebody cares about me. Somebody's interested in what I'm doing. I've had a few bloodshot ones. I've had a few looking at me. Mary, like you wouldn't believe. I went to the toilet. I came back. She was asleep. Mary, she was like that, sleep out cold on the unit. I had to wake her up. You know, so you know you can if your name drop like a celeb, and you say we could do a little one like Jennifer, or you know, or maybe a side fringe would be lovely there. You're gonna, and then get you know, a side fringe would be lovely on you there. If you cut that into there, we could face frame that. And you'll obviously the way Cameron Diaz has the brightest highlights around her lips, because they want to highlight her face shape, not her hair. You want to highlight her face shape and not her hair. And straight away she's like, this guy's brilliant. This salon is brilliant. Everything's brilliant. She's had nothing done. She hasn't even had a skin tone yet. And she's going to go home and tell all her friends, you got to go to the salon. All because of the consultation. Okay? Let that drop. All because of the consultation. As Angela said earlier, it all starts with you taking their jacket and then you sitting them down. It all starts with you sitting them down and sitting them into the chair. It doesn't start with you mixing up a colour, okay? It doesn't start with you. It starts with the consultation, okay? And if you go to a doctor, they talk to you. The consultation is everything, and then they make the diagnosis. You know what I mean? Did you like that, Karen? Did you like that? Did you like that? And then they diagnose, and then they're there for life. Do you know what I mean? Even if things were, if it took them a few colours to get where you needed to go, they'd give you 3 or 4 goes at their hair after you. It comes with great confidence, Scott. This is the thing, but that's why the page is here, to show you. Look at the levels. Look at the work Scott does. Look at the work Lucy, and look at these things. Are the best in the world. You can be inspired by so many people. Hiya, Claire. Hope you're well. Miss you, babes. Miss you. Hope you're well. Great to see you doing a bit of that work in the X Factor. One of the best in the business, Claire Shell on there, on live. One of the best in the business. Me and Claire, many a Sunday morning, did some shoots. Having to get up, Claire, didn't we? Sunday mornings, having to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Me and Claire worked on many a shoot. And we'll work on shoots again, Claire. Don't you worry about it. So the consultation is where it begins. Taking their coat is where it begins. Sitting them down. Now, I haven't even discussed a skin test yet. So we're going all through this. And I'm saying to her, you know, we can put a background colour in that, and we can make you look as if it's going to make you look naturally lighter. You know, it will fade warm. All colour fades warm. Now, straight away, you're telling the client the truth, okay? You're telling the clients, you know, all colour fades warm, but it'll still look amazing, and you could do with a little bit of warmth in your skin anyway. You know, as you get older, you need a little bit of warmth in your skin. Sure, it's gorgeous. Look at Cameron Diaz. Her hair's not that cool, is it? Look at Sienna Miller. Her hair's not that cool, is it? And suddenly the client's getting it, okay? The client's getting it. She's not in there looking for a blue-grey, you know. Can you bleach my hair till it falls out and put a blue over it? Thanks a million. You know, you're educating your clients into the way colour is. And she's gonna go out to her friends and go, but sure, all colour fades warm. Of course it does. It's colour. It's like, this isn't like, you know, rocket science. The world isn't flat. This is just, you know, your jeans fade. Your jeans fade when you wash them. I mean, all colour fades warm, unless it's white underneath. If it's not white underneath, it's gonna fade warm. You know, if you bleach your jeans white and put a black over them, they're gonna fade because you bleached them white and put a black over them. You know what I'm saying? Same with hair colour. You know what I mean? Unless you bleach them white, they're going to fade warm, aren't they? they're just going to fade warm. So, but it could look really amazing on you. You know, no, I hate warmth. Okay, I hate warmth. Then you're like, okay, great. What we can do is we can do a lovely highlights on it, and then we can give you a nice cool melt. And a melt will work really well for you. You know what I mean? And we give you a really nice melt, and that'll be nice and cool. And she go, yeah, but I would love to be a bit more naturally blonde. Yeah, well, then you're going to need to lighten your base a bit, and that's going to go a bit warm. It's just the way it is. It'll look cool for a while, but it'll fade quite warm. So the option is now in her head. So she's now, in her head, she's now thinking, I wouldn't mind being Cameron Diaz. She came in going, no warmth. That's the one you're talking about. Yeah, exactly. No warmth, no this, no that, because she's been to about 14 salons and nobody's done anything for her. And now she's thinking about Cameron Diaz and Sienna Miller and Jennifer Anderson, and you know, she's thinking about all these, and she's suddenly thinking none of their hair is like is ash. And then you can grab an old Vogue magazine if you want, and you can go, you know, if you look through Vogue, you won't see anybody with an ash colour there, you know. And you look through it and you won't see one person, because it's so hard to wear on the skin, you know. You won't see. She's left being, you know, she's thinking, oh, you know, can I be Cameron? And you know what? You can do that colour, you know, you can do that colour. This is really good. Even as we'll catch up on this later. No problem, Gemma, no problem. So the first time you're doing her, then she's probably going to go for a nice highlights, back comb weave, everything around her face. So she's going to have a bit of a face frame through here, because she's going to open up her forehead, and you're going to be toning it with Colour Touch, say. So we have to do a skin test then, because you're here. I'm just letting you know, I use the best products in the world, okay? I use the best products in the world. I have to do a skin test. It's just insurance. It's the way things are these days. You can't even open up a creche without thousands of pounds of insurance. It's just the way things are, I'm afraid. It's just the way things are. And they're like grand, they're rolling up the sleeves. It's all about how you put things, you know? Crook of their arm, target shade that you're going to use, okay? Now they're having their coffee and they're thinking about, they can't wait to come in. They can't wait to sit down and get their hair done. All because you gave them a good consultation. You had a good look at them, and you just had a good look at their hair texture, whether it's breaking, what type of base it is, what type of texture it is, what eye colour they have, what type of skin tone they have, what type of colour would suit them. And then you have all that in your mind. Their face shape, have they a small forehead, have they a big forehead? And then you go, so what are you here for? And usually when they get to my chair, and they've usually, you know, they've gone on the internet to find me. I don't Google myself, but I believe that, yeah, I come up quite a lot for certain things if you put in. And probably madness, you know what I mean? Most of them. You know, I have a good look at their scalp as well, Angela. You know, it comes up, you can see it on their scalp quite a lot. And then again, I have scalp issues myself. So, I don't go in, and then I ask them what they're asking, and then they're saying, you know, this and what, and then I'll listen to them really carefully, and then I'll give them my opinion, and I'll usually give them 3 or 4 different looks. I'll give them like a highlight with a background. I'll give them a highlight look with a base break, or I'll give them a highlight with a melt, or just a classic highlight, or, you know, if it's grey coverage or something like that. An awful lot of the time you have people in the chair who have a tint of a certain level, and they think, well, if I go lighter I won't see my roots, which is complete rubbish, because they do see their roots and they end up coming in the exact same length of time, but they have a colour that doesn't suit them. So sometimes in that situation you just need to actually do a beautiful tint, you know. Do I price in the consultations? Consultations are always complimentary, and I always do them in the afternoon, and they're usually 15 minutes long. And I would feel, Tracy, that my consultations are like, that the way we work them in the salon, they're that good. I reckon that a good consultation brings in 4 new clients, because people just leave going, I went to this guy today and he just, you know. And I will say, you know, this is like, we're a Michelin hair salon, you know, like Michelin restaurant. And there's no harm if you're at that level and saying, you know, I'm like a Michelin hair colourist, because you are. You are. And if you are, you are. And I am. And there's so many people on this thread who are as well. You know, the power's inside you. It's not anywhere else. It's not outside you. It's not in any course. It's not anywhere. Do I? Well, you know, I charge quite a lot. No, I like, No, not really. I don't. I just don't. I don't charge. I don't price them in at all. Really, Trace. I mean, it's the same price for like. And when they get their colour done that time with me, it'll be that price all the time. Really, kind of. It's usually down to the length of time they spent with me in the chair. And I will say to them, actually, Tracy, brilliant question again. I will say to them now, listen, bring yourself a little bit of sandwich or bring yourself something. You'll be in my chair for at least 2 hours, and then you'll be an hour taken, or including your shampoo, and you'll be blow dried, so you'll be here. Thanks, Jared. Thanks very much. You're welcome. I learned an awful lot from you, Jared, over the years. And I will say that you'll be here for quite a long time. We're not that type of salon. You won't be out in an hour. You won't. It'll take quite a while, and that kind of lets them know the type of place they're in, and and how it's going to go, how it's going to be price wise, and how it's going to be. I don't have a price menu, so I'll usually tell them then if they're leaving if they ask, but they rarely ask, They rarely ask. Yes, I tell clients to bring lunch to them. Are they prepared for the price? For me, like, yes. If they're then told at the desk if they ask. I mean, they rarely ask me, I suppose, because they'd see it as a bit rude, and they're probably bending into the receptionist and going, like, so what's it? And they'll say, oh, he'll be to whatever, and then it'll be a blow dry or a cut, and your treatments are included. Everything's included in the experience. That's kind of how it's sold, and they are. So, but if they ask me, Martha, yeah, but they never ask me. They just never ask me, because do you know what? They don't have time. All we're doing when they're talking to me, all they're talking to me about is their hair. It is the hair, their skin, their eyes, what they've always wanted, what will suit them. It's all that kind of stuff. And then when they're up out of the chair, I usually say, I'm really looking forward to doing your hair. You might have to wait a little while when you're getting it done. I would recommend sometimes I even say to them when they're going to come in, you'll only, how often are you getting your hair done? And they'll say, every 6 weeks. I'd say, well, I would hope now that you would be only having to get it done 4 times a year, every 3 months, but they expect to pay 300 plus anyway. They absolutely do, Tracy, and they'll get, their plexus, and they'll get their treatments, and they'll get everything put in, particularly on the first time. On the second or the third time, if they want to do something a little bit quicker and stuff like that, or maybe it's just a base break, really, really prices. I'm too busy talking to them about their hair and about them, and and that kind of, and sometimes, I mean, I don't know if any of you discuss this comes up a lot, but I do get people who are stuck in a moment, so they have this emotional connection to their hair when they were really happy at a certain age. So say at 21, 22, they were, going out with a guy they were really in love with, and, everything went that way, and they still see their hair at that age, because that's when they're most happiest with. And U2 wrote a song about it called Stuck in a Moment You Can't Get Out Of, and they're sort of stuck in that moment. And I do find that when you draw people in to the present moment, when you're talking to them, if you draw them in and you talk about their eyes and their skin tone and their face shape, they stop thinking in their head about how their hair's meant to look as if it's a hat, and they start to look at their eyes, and they start to look at their skin tone, and they become present. So they become here with you, and you're looking at them, and they're looking at you, and they become present. They get out of their heads, because they have to, because you're talking about their face shape, skin tone, eye colour. So they become present. Now, this is very, very important, and not everybody will get this, because this is a deep one. But by making people present like that, and explaining to them about where their vocal points are and what the best hair colours is for their skin tone, they stop thinking about when their hair was when they were at their most happiest, when they made their debs and their hair was like Bon Jovi, and you're talking to them about their face shape and their skin, and this needs to be this and that they actually forget, and they just literally like time travel ahead. And I'll often say, at a certain age, we really need warmth in our skin. When we're 21, you can wear any tone, you can wear any colour, but at a certain age you just need to be, and I'll name certain people, like one of the girls from Sex and the City or something, or I'll Sharon Stone, or I'll name somebody, and I'll somebody in that era. Your one from Sleepless in Seattle, I can't think of her name. Someone can stick it up on the page. I'll name people like that I feel they'll identify with, and that gets them out of their heads. A lot of people are stuck at a time where they thought they looked really amazing, and they associate the emotion of that with their hair. Okay, and by doing a really, 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 Meg Ryan, thank you. By doing a really, really good consultation, it makes them present, if only for a few minutes, and they forget. But you can expect to get a Big Mac, but only pay for it. Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Thanks, guys. Me too, when I'm strict, the price is the price. You know what? If you inspire them, you get them into the present moment. You stop them thinking about when they were 21 and when their hair was. You're basically, people are always in a slight level of pain, or there's a result they want, and if you can make them feel good about themselves, regardless of their weight or their size or their height, or if you can make the best of what's them in front of them, the most important thing for them will be that feeling, not the price. Okay, and if they don't expect somebody who's creating, like this is, you're creating here is a huge. She was amazing, Tracy. She's I'm always meaning to do a post on her, because her particular colour and her particular cut that was done by Sally Herzenberg, and I know she's on the page at times, she doesn't post that much, but Sally Herzenberg is one of the greatest hair cutters that we've ever had, and is a cherished hair cutter, and really does work with the razor like I don't think anybody ever did. And I think Sally is the reason Meg's hair is so incredibly good, and if she's ever watching this, thanks Sally, you're a huge inspiration to me, and a huge inspiration to all of us here on the page. But we're creating value here. You're creating in-depth value based on the person in the chair. So when you're creating that immense value, you must charge for it. Okay, it's your inability and of lack of confidence. Like when your confidence comes that you're able to deal with customers and people like this behind the chair, you can just charge for it. You know what I mean? You can just, I don't screw people over. I don't overcharge, but I don't undercharge. Do you know what I mean? And but if you create that type of value and you create that type of result, people expect the price, okay? But if you're coming up to them, how are you? Yeah, the weather's really dreadful out there today, isn't it? Yeah, you're in to get some colour done, is it? Yeah, what would you like? If I was her in the chair, I'd be like, what's this going to cost me? I would be like, what's this going to cost? It's like somebody coming up to you, yeah, you want something to eat today? Yeah, do you want something? What do you want? Did you have a look at the menu? Yeah. You're like, this place is a $6.95 restaurant. But if somebody comes up to you, hi, how are you? Great to see you. What are you in the mood for today? We've got some amazing dishes. The chef's been working night and day in there. He's got some beautiful fish. I don't know if you like some fish. If you're in a 22 quid restaurant and you know it. Okay, you know it. It all comes from you. It all comes from the person. It all comes from that. I've watched waiters work. I've been in restaurants, Michelin restaurants, and I've watched waiters pick everything right down to the dessert for the person, and you've left on a magic carpet with the date you've been on, you've left, and that's what you should be aiming for in a salon. It's very achievable, whether you work in the smallest salon on your own, whether you work in the biggest salon in the world. This is about you. This is about you and your customer, about being present and being in the moment with them. And it was a fantastic question from Angela, and boom, it was a long one, wasn't it? Jesus, like, we won't get through it all tonight. This was a great thing, wasn't it, to ask me anything? It really was. So Becky asked a question about pricing. Becky, are you out there? How are you? And she also asked about pH balances and about lifting hair. Becky, I feel that the consultation and price were covered at the same time, so I hope that helped you with price. You'll have a million reasons in your head why you can't do these things, but you know that you can. Everything comes from inside us. We can all do them. All do them. So so I'm gonna deal with don't forget the story. I won't have time tonight for the story because it's a long one, I don't think, you know. So, well, let's see how we get on with the questions, all right? And if you just want to stay on, then, you know, I'll stay on. Do you know what I mean? You know, we'll see how it goes. Right, Becky. So, thank you for the question, Becky. Number one. Thank you, Angela, for the question. It was a long one. It was a great question. And the client journey is everything, as you said, but it starts with the consultation. And you can get 4 new clients just from a consultation, you know. I don't know what famous is, Salis. You know what I mean? I don't know what that is, but I certainly don't. I certainly don't. You know, I certainly don't want it. You know, you want to be well known for what you do. I think, you know, for people to stop and say, you know, I like him. He's a great mentor, or he's a great speaker. But to just be famous for being famous. I mean, we've seen some, you know, so many tragedies from celebrities and people in that situation who are famous and they don't know why they're famous and their lives are all over the place. So, like, the last thing you want is that. And, you know, it's a lot of it is to do with approval of what other people, approval from other people. And, you know, that's a really dangerous game. You just work with approval from yourself and from everybody here in the community, and don't worry about fame. Yeah, it's a 15-minute thing, isn't it? But being good at what you do, that's a lifetime, baby. That is a lifetime. And that makes you iconic, you know, in my mind, okay? That's just my 2 cents for it. So pH balances change when you're bleaching the hair, or they change when they're colouring your hair. And the more alkaline they are, the higher they go up, the more they expose and open the underlying pigmentation. So I think you were asking me about pH balances because you were, I think because it's an awful lot of colouring and stuff that we do is not pH balanced after it's done. You know, people will go ahead and they'll do bleach ups and they'll do toners and they'll do everything, but they won't have put a surface post in, or they won't have put a pH balancer in, and the hair has left with, and its pH should be in between 5.5 and 6.5, and the hair has left, and the pH is about 8, and the minute they shampoo their hair, all the colour falls out, all the pigment falls out. It doesn't last, it doesn't work long. So pH balance is very important, particularly particularly when you're closing down after bleaching, or closing down after any type of highlighting, or closing down after any high volumes of peroxide, because the hair has been swollen, there's been a lot of alkalinity, and the pH level has risen a lot. You know, you're losing money. It's not a hobby, it's your livelihood. That's completely right, Nick. That's completely right. So pH balancing is very, very important. For that, you will feel through your consultations and through learning how to colour from being on the page. You will learn, you know, you can be in an area where you don't have to charge as much. And like Tracy summed it up really well there, she doesn't need as much money to live in Spain. She can have a beautiful life, and that's great. You know, that's down to you. You have to be, whatever amount of money you're happy to earn, you're happy to earn. And if you want to be like a multi-millionaire and you want to have a bowling alley and a plunge pool, and you want, like me, you want to have a private jet, you want to have all that, you have to charge a lot of money. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you're quite and reading that stuff doesn't really matter to me. Hiya, Liz. How are you, babes? How are you, Elizabeth? Good to see you on. You know, but if you're really, hiya, Trudy. Good to see you on. Another Trudy on. 2 Trudys on. It's really up to you. Don't let anyone tell you what you need to earn. But you need to be able to make enough money to self-care, which means you need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to be able to pay your bills. And you need to be able to self-care. Legend, you're a ledge as well, babes. You need to be able to take care of yourself. That is like nurturing yourself and feeding yourself with the proper foods, and taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. Self-care is really important and must be part of your budget. You know, whether it's a massage, whether it's time away, whether it's for me, self-care has been able to take an extra day off somewhere along the way. And for me to take a day off, it costs about €1,000, maybe more, for me to take a day away from the salon. So it's an expensive thing for me to be able to do. Do you know what I mean? But for me, it's very, very important. So for me, self-care is having a bit of time to myself, maybe a little extra few hours in bed, or you know, it's you're watching at the pool, great stuff. Self-care is very important. It's very good for your physical health. It's very good for your mental health. And you must include it in your budget. It has to be a part of your budget. Whatever your self-care is, whether it's a massage, whether it's a few glasses of vodka and a laugh with your friends, whether it's a movie, whether it's a day off. You know, for me, it's a day off. And what you charge is relative, okay? It's relative to where you're from. So the only thing that matters is that you can cover yourself, you can live, and you can self-care, and you can take care of yourself. If you can do all that, well, then don't be getting like, oh, well, I have to have this in the bank and I have to have that in the bank. You know, don't get all, worrying about stuff that might never happen. If you can pay for your phone, you can pay for your phone. Forget about it. If you can pay for your Sky TV and you can pay for your Sky TV, great, forget about it. You can pay for it. When you can't, you can't. You know what I mean? And people are, this and that, and I have to have, don't let anyone tell you what you need to earn or what you have to earn. There's lots of things I want to have, but I don't get them, it's okay. But that, so I think that helps with pricing as well, is that you have to be able to cover yourself, and but by being the consultations, by learning all the things in the colour, by you spending on education, you will naturally just rise. You will naturally rise and get good. It will just happen for you. Then Karen mentioned eye colour and skin tone, and I feel we covered that in the consultation. Definitely, the cooler tones I particularly like better. On Irish skin, we've a lot of pink in our Irish skin, a lot of blue eyes. Balance, work life. Yeah, I can't pay to support myself. No more. Yes, the price is the price, and all your clients are worth it. Yeah, like you just have to if you deliver the results that they are looking for, and you are involved in the journey from the consultation right the way up. Price won't be the number one issue. The number one issue will be how they get an appointment with you. That'll be the number one issue, because they won't be able to get in with you because you'll spend time over each head. And that's another way to approach it. Say, listen, I only do 4 or 5 a day, okay? Because of the amount of work I put into each head. This isn't like one of those salons. This isn't that type of salon. I spend our time over each client, and we create a bespoke service to try and make your colour really well. You are basically telling them that they're not in a chipper, that they're in a Michelin restaurant, and to be prepared to expect that level of service, that level of value, you have to pay for, okay? You have to pay for. I wouldn't be walking into one of those restaurants and expect to get out of there for $6.95, okay? And yeah, you shouldn't either. Do you know what I mean? And really, it all starts with you. It all starts with you. And you'll have a million reasons why you can't change, but you can. You can totally change. The power is inside you. It's always inside you. And there's always, I live here and I live there. But if you're the best in your town, you can charge the most in your town, and you can make the most in your town. Okay? It's absolutely 100%. There's no excuses. I've seen people being super successful who have been paralysed in wheelchairs. I've seen clients who've had the most horrendous childhoods and the most toughest upbringing, who've come up through poverty, and that you wouldn't believe, and they're multi-millionaires. Sit in my chair, multi-millionaires. There's no excuses. Don't give yourself excuses. There is no, I can't, and I do this, and tell yourself, and then you have a little story you can tell yourself, I'm like this because this happened to me. Don't sell yourself out so easy, okay? Don't sell yourself out. Don't give yourself that cop out, okay? Don't do that to yourself. You deserve much more than that. You know what I mean? Because that's just a story. I'll tell the story, and then it makes me okay to not have to do anything in my life. And you know what? No education's going to change that. No course is going to change that. You can go and see a one-to-one consultation with Guy Tang. You can spend a week with me. But unless I look in your eyes and go, are you actually going to change? Until you're actually going to change, nothing changes, But education will give you the knowledge and the confidence to make that change. And being around the right type of people, like we are in the community here in Wella, and the Wella page, being around a community where positivity and looking for wins and for not hiding, nowhere to hide, you will be successful. Success is the only outcome if you live life that way. It's the only outcome. You will go through a battle. you know, where you're closer to failure, and then you get over 50% and you get closer to winning. And you have to go through that line. You know, it's like gravity. You know, you're like, gravity will pull you back to the way you were. It's like me trying to lose weight right now. So I've lost like a good few pounds at the beginning. Now gravity's trying to pull me back. Oh, I'm just thinking about fish and chips, and I'm thinking about this, and gravity's trying to pull me back to planet fish and chips, and planet chicken curry, fried rice, and a portion of chips, please, and I'll have the ribs. It's just trying to drag me back, okay? But once I get past that sort of level of gravity, then I'll no longer even think about those type of foods. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And that's just, and then you have to think that if you stay on that road, success is the only outcome. Okay, you will go through the weeds, you will go through dark times, you will go through your body forcing you from every inch to pick up that phone and order that curry. Okay, you'll go through it. I'm going through it right now. Okay, but if you stick to the course, okay, and you stick on that string and you get through the gravitational pull to bring you back to who you were, you will automatically then be drawn to who you're going to be. You understand what I'm saying? You will automatically be drawn. Now, you can always go back. You know what I mean? I'll go back to planet fish and chips. There's no doubt about it. You know what I mean? I'll go back once I get to that balance. But right now, the gravitational pull, trying to pull me around, I'm just going slingshotting forward, okay? And success is the only outcome if you do that. Success is the only outcome. I was dyslexic in school, Salas. It was called good at sports in my day. I found out when I went for an eye test I was chronically dyslexic. I went through the whole of school. You know, I went through the whole of school. Okay, so we went off on a bit of a tangent there, sorry. So the next question then was from Chantel. And I had to get a help from Uncle Nick on this one. And from the fabulous Eddie in Geneva, who I texted this morning as well. Was on Colour Renew, okay? Was on Colour Renew, which I haven't had that much experience of using it, but the fantastic Nick Kahn, who went through it all, went through it all, and she wanted to know a bit about Colour Renew. And as I said, I haven't used a lot of it because I don't tend to get that type of work in my chair, but I'm going to do my best to give it to give a little bit of a breakdown on what is an incredible product, okay? An incredible product. So Colour Renew is basically, it's a colour remover, okay? But it removes colour in a different way than a normal colour remover works. It takes longer than 21 days to stop me, I can tell you, Martha. Because I gave up smoking, I suppose I did 21, I don't know. Yeah, once you get through the gravity and you get to the other side and you're looking forward, success is the only outcome that you will see. Because you just have to get through the gravity of the pull back. That's quite difficult. So it's a colour reducer rather than a colour remover, okay? So therefore it won't affect natural hair, which is an incredible thing in itself, okay? It's made from, I've got some notes here, so I'm going to read both of them off for you to help you, because Nick helped me with it this morning. So it's got two ingredients in it. The powder is basically vitamin C, and the activator is citric acid. And when you mix those two products together, it will then remove. It'll remove dye molecules from the hair. It'll remove permanent dye molecules. It won't remove direct dyes. And in some of the Colour Touch demis, there's a certain level of direct dyes in them, so it will remove some Colour Touch, but not all. Thanks, Nick, but not all. Get through the gravitational pull, absolutely. Can you bring me some Colour Renew? I can. I can definitely bring you some Colour Renew, babes. Of course I can. So it's a mixture of vitamin C and citric acid. Okay. Well, Daniel, you can put up why you love it so much there, yeah, as well. What a lot of people seem to use it for is for using it for mineral buildup. You know, that I'm seeing on the page a lot, or that people are, you know, so that if just as a deep clean beforehand, they tend to mix the vitamin C with warm water and it's very, very gentle then, and they apply it and leave it on for 15-20 minutes, and it takes all the minerals off the hair. So if you have a buildup of chlorine or of copper, of something like that, it removes mineral buildup, and that seems to be what it does better than anything we've seen before. It just removes all that mineral buildup, and that will make hair much easier for you to colour afterwards, because your bleach won't be trying to get through the mineral buildup. So it's particularly popular, and I think that's what I will be using it for a lot. I'll use it for mineral buildup. But by mixing up these two products, it does remove colour as well, Marta, but by using it with warm water, it'll remove mineral buildup. And it's mainly for, if your tint has gone a bit too dark, if your tint's gone a bit too heavy, if you're using, say, one of those reds like a 6645, and you just use it all the time, and it builds up and it gets too saturated and it gets heavy and the red starts to look like a 5, or if you get, some of those tints around the front where they can look too dark, it's really brilliant for those type of things. The mix is 1 to 10, so 1 sachet to 9 parts the activator, or 9 parts the water if you were talking about the mineral buildup, and it removes heavy reds particularly out of it. It'll remove, if you see toners, or where toners just get too heavy. People have done too many toners and it gets really, 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 really heavy. Now it does need heat. It does have to be applied. From Nick's advice this morning, he'd recommend shampooing it out with a clarifying shampoo, because it is a citric acid. It is a vitamin C, so it's acidic in its form. So if you were to do a product that was acidic as well, like Realites or something like that, because the hair has been, it's basically shrunk the hair and reduced it, and it decouples the dye molecule and they fall out. It would be hard to get the colour in there. So I should sit them in the sun. And it really it really helps for those type of jobs, for taking out heavy toners, for tints that are just a little bit too dark. So let's, what else has it got on it here? Yeah, so once you've applied it under the dryer, hiya Douglas, 15-20 minutes. And Nick would recommend shampooing it afterwards. He would recommend shampooing it afterwards to make sure that it's taken out. I think because you're gonna you're taking out dark ends, or you're taking out heavily built up colour. You're worrying about shampooing it because you're worrying about the skin toned. And banding is another one it'll be really good at, but particularly dark tints. I think dark tints around the hairline, it'll remove anything like that, and Nick would recommend shampooing it afterwards to make sure it comes out. Just don't shampoo too close to the skin, so that it won't affect the skin if you're going to go ahead and colour it. 30 minutes under the dryer is recommended. It's a very, very gentle product, so it does need time. Sometimes you can do multiple ones on the day. All the info's on the Wella app. Thank you, Nick. I'm no expert on it, but I will become an expert on it. So it reduces the depth and it reduces the tone. Do remember when you're using these products that the underlying pigment of the colour, whatever's being used, will be revealed. So have a good look at your colour and sort of say to yourself, well, this tint is a 6-7, but it looks to me like she's a fair bit of red in there as well. And if I use the colour renew on it, it's going to bring the red out. And then you're going to need to neutralise the red, just like any other time. I think I'd use a hairdryer on it, Tracy. I think it really needs to be heat activated. You know what I mean? But again, if you were just using it for mineral buildup before you were going to do a head of highlights, it would be quite popular. And we are seeing people like Jack Martin and other colourists who are doing using these types of products to remove all the minerals before they start bleaching. It's not something I've done. It's not something I'm totally, I totally understand from a science point of view, because the bleach is going to get through it anyway, but it seems to be very effective. So there's definitely something in that way. There's definitely something that needs to be looked at there, with it. So maybe I use a hairdryer, Cheryl. Use a hairdryer on it. Boom. Hairdryer. Boom. Use a hairdryer and then put a cap over it in a hairdryer. You know what I'm saying? But it's a very, very gentle product. It's not like a stripper. I think Nick explained it really well, the way, colour comes together like between a nut and a bolt. And what Colour Renew does is just unlocks the nut and bolt of the colour, and then the colour just, basically reduces and falls out. And that's kind of how it works, which is... I'd love to actually sit down with John Lankoff at one stage and go through a lot of this stuff. Wouldn't it be great? And we could go live. John, if you're watching, Mr. Lankoff from Darmstadt, make it happen. I'll come over and spend a day with you so many people. I'd love to go to Paris Fashion Week and I'd love to go here. I don't know. I think I'd probably spend a day in Darmstadt with John Lankoff, I think it would be brilliant. I think it would be just brilliant. No problem, Scott. I'll see you later. Like, it can only stay on for so long. I think it's not fair if you're on too long with people. But there you go. So that's a little bit of a Colour Renew. Anything else is perfume free. It's peroxide free. It gives you a chance to take colour out of hair without damaging the hair at all. And I was going to get Nick to come on. Live and explain it, but he might do a little video for us at some stage about the Colour Renew, because he'll do it much better than me, because I just don't have that type of clientele. I never have tints too dark because I tend to mix them really well. It doesn't happen. You know what I mean? I just don't... it doesn't happen. Okay, Michelle Getz, how are you? Michelle asked about toners. How do you know what toner to pick? Like just toners. And there's so many out there that she doesn't know, makes much more sense. Okay, well, I hope I explained it well. It is a magical process. I hope I explained it as well as I could. You know what I mean? It just came at me an hour ago. And thank you, Eddie Sweeney, and thank you, Mr. Nicholas Kahn, for getting out of your bed early to give me a little bit of a breakdown of what it was and what it is. But what it's mostly used for is removing toners or removing or for colour changes. If you're taking out a red out of somebody's hair and then going to make her a brunette or a brown, it could be very good for that. If somebody had a 674 tint and you wanted to make her a 717, it could be really good. You put that on, it could remove a lot of the dye molecule, a lot of the red for you, take that out, and then you can retint the hair with that sort of colour mostly gone. You know what I mean? Without stripping it and all that big deal and all that bit of stuff. That's where it's really good for, or for removing toners. It's really good, and it's zero damage and it won't affect natural hair at all. Hope that helps. So back to Michelle Getz, who's lost in a world of toners because there's so many toners out there. Some people love to use Illumina to tone. They love to use the Illuminas. Some people love to use the Colour Touches. Some people love to use the Collistons. Some people even just use Colour Fresh. You know what? The key is the lift, okay? You always base your toner on the lift you get. And Nick is right. Sometimes colour correction is just about taking the tone out. It's not necessarily anything more than one level of depth. It's all about the tone. And by just changing the tone, the colour can look completely different. Like a blood red looks completely different than a Ferrari red. They would be similar in levels, but they're very different in colour. Yes, understand. Colour. So everything about the toner you choose is to do with the level of lift that you have achieved. And most times out of 10, stick an anorak on our tie. I missed that one, but it looks funny. I'll read them back when I'm on here. When I'm on here. Tell you have me busy tonight. Did you like the gravitational pull? Don't know where I got that one from. That was brilliant. I think I got it from my mate Mike. Mike's a genius. I love him. Anyway, so I think her main issue, Michelle, I know you're on the thread. I think your main issue is trying to know what toner to pick, and really you have to base the toner on the level of lift you get. You get so many people on the page asking about toners and they don't even put a picture up. It's hilarious, really. You can only choose your toner based on the lift you've got. Now, most of the time, if you get hair, the world's not flat, quote of the week, quote of the thread. Did you like that one, Nick? I thought success was the only outcome was my best line so far. You know, I'm hard pressed to beat that, you know. But at a certain level, success is the only outcome. I say that to myself quite a lot when I'm coming up against walls and walls of resistance, which I do all the time with stuff. How you do with a client that is looking for fault? I don't get them that often. I really don't. Yeah, I don't get look after the clients. They look after you. Yeah, I magic spell them. You know, you can have the force. You know, the force like Alec Guinness is able to do with the stormtroopers. You know, okay, example, lifted level 9, could you use 9, so many to pick from. Okay, Michelle, right, yes, level 9 is the average lift. Very few people get to level 10. And anyway, at level 10, I mean, unless you're going for a grey, like, you don't really need a level 10 for me personally. I like a level 9. I think toners take better on a level 9. I like the colour of a level 9. I think the condition of it's better than a level 9. I like to use Colour Touch to tone with because it's a demi and it won't disturb the natural base. Lots of people like to use Illumina 960, 1069, and they use it with conditioner to give it a glossing service, to give it an all over, and they love that effect that you get from a little bit of a permanent colour and you get a little bit of a shift. And they love that. They get that little bit of a shift. And I totally get that. If you're not looking for that, well then, if you're not looking for that little bit of a shift or that little bit of a move, well then Colour Touch is what you should be going for. And if you're really, really worried about it affecting the natural base, like if she's a 17-year-old girl with the most perfect base colour you've ever seen, and you don't want, you know what, Marta, in my salon, that any of the level 8s was the mic drop. Did you like the mic drop? Yeah, thank you. Still, there's a few crackers there. Back to this is, you know, if you're really, really worried about disturbing the natural pigment, if disturbing the natural hair, well then Relights is your best friend. It's pH acidic. It will not affect the underlying. It will not expose the underlying pigment in somebody's hair. Not a chance. Okay. Stroke 1.8, stroke 8.6. If it, you know, then after that you're into Colour Touch. Do you know what I mean? Which, if done correctly and put on damp hair and put on properly, it won't disturb the underlying pigment, it won't disturb the base. Anything where the developer has a potential to shift, this is just, particularly if you're to use the level 10 on a level 6, no matter what it is, the hair is going to be drawn towards a 10 and it's going to be exposing the underlying pigment. So you must choose the right level for the right tone for what you're putting it on. So there's a lot to toning, you know, there's a lot to learn, really. But Colour Touch is my go-to. So at a level 9, like Michelle asked, it's Michelle's question. This is Michelle's little moment, and deservedly so. It was a great question. My go-to toners at a level 9 are 881 and 916 together. 881 on its own. 916 and 80. 973. I like a lot as well if they want if they want warmth, you know, in it. But 916 and 80 or 916 and 88, I would advise, Michelle, if you're only learning about toning, or if you're feeling that, you know, it's something that to start, it's a bit like going to the gym. Start with light weights and work your way up to big bench presses. Don't go in and start trying to lift like 200-pound weights. Don't go in and start to do the most advanced. I see people on the page who don't have the level of experience and they're putting up a picture of the most difficult grey transformation that would ever be done in the whole world. And it's a bit like going into the gym and say, I want to run a marathon tomorrow in 1 hour 35 minutes. It's just not going to happen because you don't have that level of experience. You know, you don't. Caramel at level 8, I'll answer that one now, no problem. 997 and 80. There's Sarah's. That's a beauty. That's a beauty. And the reason she's using a little bit of 80 is because it anchors it, because it's the depth. You know, so if you put a little bit of depth in with your toners, it will anchor your toners. So a little bit of 80 will always anchor your toner. So if you feel you haven't got the lift and you want to anchor the tone, put a little bit of depth in with it. Hey, Antonio, how you doing? How's it going? So, yeah, my advice there would be, would be to tone at the level. And my favourite toners for that is probably 80 and 916. Stick with Colour Touch, Michelle, until you really feel really comfortable. It's just like a gym. Stick with the weight you're at, and then once you feel you have the strength, then lift a higher weight. So move on and do another thing, move on and do another thing, move on and do another thing, and you get stronger and you get better. But to walk into a gym and to think, okay, I'm going to run a marathon in Olympic speed, which means I'm going to colour hair like Lucian tomorrow, and I have absolutely no experience, is foolish in the extreme, and you will probably do damage to yourself and to the client. Learn at the level you're at and then work to the next level. It's like a building block. Every brick leads you to the next brick, leads you to the next brick. You can't expect to be at somebody's. You can't expect to climb Everest if you've never climbed a mountain before, and you're only going to annoy yourself, and you'll hate the job, and you go off. 881 and 9. I've never mixed that toner before, Sarah. I've never mixed that toner. All about the depth. Caramel level 8. My favourite for a level 8, I really like 901 and 871. There you go. I like 871. I like the dustiness of it. See, Marty, you just look at one brick at a time. You know, you just go in and you lift a 5 pound weight, and then you lift a 10 pound weight. And then a year later, you look back and you go, Jesus, I used to just lift those 5 pounders and now I'm over here. Okay, progress is small. Remember the gravitational pull. Success is the only outcome. Okay, remember the gravitational pull of this. That you will get towards that, Yeah, I had a drink last night, Salis. I was a little bit hungover. I woke up early. Are you lifting, Andrew? Was it me? What am I? No, lifting. Yeah, before lifting, I love 871 and 901 as a toner before I lift. I love it. I love that. I love that deposit, Sarah. I just love that. I'll post one. I'll go back and I'll find one and post one. I mean, on the right level 8, that it's a bit warm. It's just beautiful. But you know what? Like 797 and 997 has nearly replaced it as well for me. I'm doing a lot of 897 toners at the moment, but would they last as well as 871 and 901? I don't know. 871 and 901 deposits a lot of brunette, and it tends to last. It depends. I haven't gone to the gym in weeks, and as much as I'm telling you about I'm 65. If I hit more bricks. Listen, it's all about progress, Martha. It doesn't matter what age you are. Just enjoy it. Slowly, catchy monkey. I know exactly. Stitching time saves 9. Patience. Practice. And what you do after you practice? You practice some more. And what you do then after you practice some more? You practice some more again. That's what you do. Practice, intensity. That's that. So that's toners, Michelle. My advice is to stay with Colour Touch, and then once you get really good at it, you can move into Illumina, and you can understand about working the levels and about how to stop it from breaking through bases and stuff like that. But to start with Colour Touch, because sometimes these things can set us back and we lose our confidence, and it's never really great to overly practice on somebody who's paying. Really, there's other things for that. Good evening, Alexandria. How are you? It's really important. There's a lot on this, Alexandria. You were talking about price earlier. You were talking about how you couldn't afford to use Wella. At the moment, you were finding it so hard to make ends meet and to use Wella, and it was just a little bit too expensive for you. And so I spoke a lot about price earlier on the thread, and I might help you, and I hope it does. I hope it does me, and I hope if you listen to it back, it might help. It might help. Practice. Look at Humberton here, who's one of the best in the. He's a fabulous colourist. He's fabulous colourist. Like, I love his work. I love all of you guys. I love every one of you. So you're all absolutely amazing. So there's another question, the last question of the night, from Jane. Jane was very funny with her question, and I asked her for a picture, and obviously I never got one, so I'm shooting in the dark here. But she says she's a client who's a 12-1 tint, who's starting to go grey. she wants to change her from a 12-1 tint because it's not really working now, I don't think, because of the grey. I'm really quite sure. Jane, if you're on, don't be afraid to type something in here. Jane said she's an old school hairdresser from the 80s. And I said, Jane, I'm an old school hairdresser from the 80s. So, you know, no excuses here, guys. No excuses, okay? It just won't work. The people I've seen in my chair and how successful they've made their lives, there's no excuses, okay? There's nowhere to hide from yourself. Jane said, so how will I change? It might help you, Alexandria. The answer sometimes isn't the answer you think, and it always comes from inside us. The answer is always inside us. You just have to find it. How would I change her colour? Now, I haven't seen the lady's hair, so I have no idea. It's complete guesswork, you know, when you haven't seen the hair. You're from the 70s. I'm from the 70s. I'm 52, babes. But she just said she's an old school. That, you know, cap highlights were where she felt she was at her best. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with... We love everybody here in the community. We're not elitist. We're not a clique. We're the community. And we take care of our young. We take care of our old. We take care of everybody. And as long as people are positive and are out there trying to get better and looking for their wins, they're welcome. If they're not, they aren't. So it's just about being together and working together, you know. So Jane, it's very difficult to say, really, but there's a few tips I'd look at first. Why are you changing it? Is it, I think, or maybe is our hair compromised? I mean, for most people who move away from a 12-1, they're then moving into a bleaching tone, and that just gets worse, you know. There's 2 or 3 ways you can approach this. You can do if it's because it's not taken as well, you can do a relights as a toner. I like to use relights on my high lifts as a toner, and they just take the heat out of them. I like to use stroke 86. I always put them on the roots first, for 10 minutes, and then the ends for 5, and they just give your high lift a beautiful tone. Stroke 1.8 if it's quite warm, if you only get to a level 9 and it's really quite warm. Stroke 1.8 if you get a really good lift off it and you just want it to just give it a nice shimmer and a nice finish. Stroke 8.6 and stroke 0.0. And if you want to give it a warmish tone or a little bit of sometimes even a little bit of a pink tone, I like a mauve tone. They just take the heat out of the tint. You know what I mean? That unless you're like Anna Vaughan can really, unless you're like an incredible... You're not 52. I am. It must be younger. I am 52 and I need a haircut. Big time. It's that time again. I need a haircut. It's just getting a bit mental. But anyway, thanks for that, Salas. I'll take it. I'm gratefully receive all compliments. Thank you very much. I'm not. Oh no, I love them. Bring them on. But how to change? First off, with a high lift, sometimes the answer is just to put relights on, and it actually just mutes them down, takes the heat out of them, and gives them a beautiful, beautiful colour. Now, we don't have the 5502, 6602, 7702, 8802, and I don't know if we will, Antonio, because there's not really a need for them in Ireland, because there'll probably be a need for them in certain markets where people just want to use one colour and tint hair with one colour. But certainly in Ireland, from my experience, most people are really into depth and tone, and they like their target shades to be their target shades. So the doubles are not... I don't know if they'll even be released here. I can't see them. I don't think they'd be I don't know if they would even be a big success here. But I think they're out in North America in March. So I'd imagine, certain markets, UK, maybe North America, they will be a big part of it. But I wouldn't see me in my salon. I wouldn't see us buying them. There's not that we don't get that type of clientele, No, they're tints, Sarah. They're sort of to replace the double naturals that people wanted to use, just as a base colour that gives them a flat tone, a flat muted tone, but just a little sort of heavy intense with a little bit of green, a little bit of pigment to make them take well, But I don't see them being a big market for them in Ireland, personally, and it's not something I would It's not something I would ever need or ever use. I use pigments to get my coverage. I use tone. I just don't. They're not something I would ever use or ever need. It's not the. It's not. They're not the type of colours I'm into. I'm just not. They're not my cup of tea. But you know what? So many people love them. They're not. They're not. And I can see a huge market for them, and they'll be massive in particular areas. We don't have the blonde or toners now. Again, it's coverage, Sarah, particularly just people who want really strong coverage, you know. We don't have the blonde or toners here, really. Again, Antonia, they're such high in ammonia content that I don't know if they'd be quite big in the European market. Relights would be the go-to toner, which is pH acidic and closes the hair down like a post-service in itself, and they would be really, really popular as the blonde or toners, you know. Yeah, they're pure coverage, Sarah, they're for pure coverage. But back to Jane. She's somewhere on here, or she'll watch this later, because I promised her I'd answer her question. How would I change it? So the first approach is I try the relights. See, I mean, sometimes relights can just bring a high lift tint back to life. I like to use an 06 and an 03 on sometimes. It just gives it a sort of mauvey gold. It's beautiful. You know, so sometimes I do intermix them with Angela. You're not supposed to, but like, but there's worse things in the world. You know what I mean? There's worse things in the world. Yeah, but I intermix them themselves. My favourite ones are stroke 18, stroke 86, stroke 03, stroke 06. Stroke 3-4. I love stroke 3-4 and relights. I use it after coppers an awful lot. So after a really copper tint, I'd use a stroke 3-4 relights all the way through it, and it fades beautifully. It would be a high recommended. But back to Jane. So if you were changing this from a high lift tint, my feeling is in a woman of that age, and she's starting to go grey, Illumina would be my go-to. So I'm just guessing here because I haven't seen her skin or her face, or I don't know what depth her hair is. I don't know anything. It's just pure guesswork. But off the top of my head, if I was changing someone from a high lift and I wanted to bring them down to a regular tint, I'd be looking at a level 8 in my head, because that would give me a sort of, like a darker root to start with. And I'd be looking at Illumina. And if I was changing it over, I'd probably re-pig it. And then I'd go in and I'd be looking at 80 and 813 in Illumina. That would be that for me. And then I would be getting her to a certain levels. It's not recommended to mix, but like, again, what you say among yourselves there is up to you. We have the platinum toners, we have them. I don't know, I don't know, Salas. Again, they're very high in ammonia content. And the European market, I don't know, like if gel toners would be big here. I'm really not quite sure. But the base breaks will be here in May, first off, and then let's see. I mean, if you really want them, I'd imagine. The base breaks will be here. I'm sorry, I'm just reading it, Alexa. I hope I can help you a bit, love. You know, I know confidence is a big problem. When you feel you don't have that much experience, you feel you can't charge, and you feel. But if you sometimes you have to gain the experience, you have to lift those little small weights and get better, and then you can charge more, and that'll help. If you listen back, you might get a lot. Hi, Alan. I hope you're well. You might get a lot of You might get a lot out of it. You know, just the voice in your head will always tell you you're not good enough. But, you know, through repetition, intensity, practice, experience, you can overcome basically everything, really. Basically most things in life. So if I was changing it, Jane, I would re-pig it, and I'd be looking at a level 8 and bringing her back to a couple of highlights with the tint. Or, yeah, then Martha's come up with the 80 and 83. That could work. Re-pig. I like Illumina, but again, I haven't seen her base. I've no idea. She could be a level 3 or a level 4 at the back, and her hair could be red. I've no clue, you know, because people put up these pictures and they say, oh, she's a level this, she's level that, and they never are. You know, when they put up their pictures, they always have it wrong. They always have the level wrong. Very few people are able to to know what level hair actually is, and that's why these little hair levelers are great to look at, because people say, oh, she's a base 6 and she isn't, she's a base 4. Or, you know, you see it all the time, and then they say, oh God, she's so much red in her hair for a base 6, and you're like, yeah, no, she hasn't, she's a base 4, and that's why she's got so much red in her hair, because she's not a base 6 at all. So for a lot of people, they don't even analyze the right level, and then they start colouring it based on the wrong level, and then it all goes wrong from there. You know what I mean? I better with using the products, and thanks to you. Oh yeah, listen, Angela, you're great. You ask great questions. You're a great member, and you know, you're fab. You're really, really fab. I will not do the story about it's tonight, because it's nearly 2 hours, guys. Like, it's nearly 2 hours. Nearly 2 hours. But I will definitely tell you the story next week. And once a month we are going to do Ask Me Anything, because this has been a brilliant session where I was thinking there this morning, what am I going to talk about? It just turned into you guys asked a question. So once a month, if you have something that you want me to talk about in the hot seat here, we will do an Ask Me Anything. And we will literally deal with it here, and it will help. We might even do more than one a month. And if there's specific things that need to be fleshed out, like colour renew, if we need to get a little bit more in depth, I will find somebody to do that for you, or I'll do it myself, or as much as I can, we will help you. The Sunday service is so successful. Over 8,000 people watched it last week in an audience of 25,000, which is pretty incredible of professional hairdressers for something to stay engaged for over an hour and a half. Is so successful because of all of you, okay? It's because of all of you. It's because of every single one of you out there who helps somebody with a picture, who gives somebody a like, who comments, who helps them along, who helped Martha this morning with just hair breakage at 5 a.m, who helps each other. It all accumulates because of you guys. You guys are absolutely amazing, and you know, you should give yourself a pat on the back. You're just absolutely terrific, and it's an absolute honour to be here, and to be here in front of you, and to be able to help all my fellow hairdressers at whatever level who want to be helped. And as we can see, there's so many people out there who want to be helped, who want to be better. And all I ask for you is share your wins, share your enthusiasm, share your love, because everybody needs it. And thank you yet again for this. I'm going to go and have a glass of wine after this, and look back on the mic drop, which should be quite funny. And thank you all for staying on live. Over 40 something people on for most of it, and seems that it peaks about on a Monday morning. I think there could be thousands watching it on a Monday morning. You know, thank you again to everybody who makes it, and it's a great story, Karen. You'll particularly like it, I think. You'll particularly like the story, and I'll save it for next week, or for the week after. I've got many things I want lined up to do, different product ranges and stuff. I want to do something on Sebastian. I'll do something on Assistant Professional, on Emmy. So if there's stuff you want me to do, give me a shout out. But definitely Ask Me Anything is going to be at least once a month, because it's actually terrific to see us all sharing your formulas. And I'm going to try that formula now that Sarah gave me there on it. You know, I didn't think of that. You know, you learn so much. You're more than welcome, Terry. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go, and I have a wine spritzer. I'm not allowed to have too much wine because this is slimming down. You know. Okay, guys, keep well, and remember what I said. Don't give in to the fear and the panic. Everything's going to be okay. We've been here before. We'll be here again. Everything will be okay. Okay? See you on the page. See you on the inside. I'll go and I'll answer all your questions. Yeah, it's a great story, Karen. You'll like it a lot. And I'll talk to you all soon, and I'll see you next Sunday. Thanks again, and thanks for making this one such a success, because I didn't have time to prep for this like I usually time to prep, and it went really well, and that's down to you guys, those fantastic questions. So before I go, I'm going to thank April, Trudy, Angela, Becky, Chantel, Karen, Michelle, and the fabulous Jane. I hope it helped you all. And even though Martha was 20 minutes late, she still blessed me. Have a great Sunday. Have a great evening. Thanks, everybody. Did I thank Angela there? Yes, I did. And Angela's question was just probably the most amazing question I've been asked about how I approach a consultation. Because it was just amazing. So, guys, have a lovely Sunday. Thanks a million. God bless. Take it easy. Love.